opens. Opening seems to be fine. I don't think I've ever got it to stop on opening. Close it. And sometimes it'll close just fine. But see how it just stopped there? Okay, so here's the back of the garage door opener, the circuit panel. And this has happened once before to me. What happens is on this board on the other side, the soldering on one point gets cracked because of vibration. And I fixed it one time before, but we're going to fix it again. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off this panel. I'm going to take this out, flip it over, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, back again here. So now we're taking a look at this piece right here. So this right here is the transformer. And this is what controls the motor power, or the power going to the motor. And you see right here, I've already soldered, the last time I did this, here and here, because they were cracked and broken. I checked them again, they look still pretty good, but what I did notice is there was some corrosion on this one right here, so I scraped off the corrosion, and if you look really closely, you'll see that there's some cracking. See if I can get a better angle at it right there. Alright, you see that little line? See how the others are smooth and flat, but there's a line on that far right one right here? This one right here? There's a crack all the way around that, and that's what was happening to this one and that one. So now I'm going to have to solder this one, and let's see if that fixes our problem. Alright, so we're back out here in the garage. What I've done is I've brought out our little motherboard here, which has the transformer on this side. And previously, this had a problem to where it was doing the same thing. It was intermittently closing. And what was happening is that these solder points would start to crack and break. And once they crack and break, either from age or hot and cold or just pure vibration from the motor causing this to vibrate, they'll get stress cracks in them. So previously I had two stress cracks, one here, and I fixed them, and that lasted me 3 or 4 years. It was working fine. And then it started happening again, and now we've found out that this one right here is cracked. The rest of them look good, but this one is definitely cracked. So we're going to solder this one. Now again, be careful with soldering. If you're not experienced in soldering, probably advise you to have someone help you that knows what they're doing, but you gotta be careful not to put too much solder, because you don't want to bridge connections to things that you don't want to. You don't want to bridge a connection from here to there. You want to stay within this circle. You don't want to get outside of it. You be super careful with this. So you're gonna just need a tiny bit of solder on this. See, that might be a little too much. Yeah, that may be a little much. Sometimes just get a little bit on my tip and just kind of add it in there. There we go. Now I'll take a look at that. Looks pretty good, but I still see a little bit of stress cracking around it, so I'm going to add a little bit more. And like I said, you don't want to bridge any gaps. Then you'd really be messing yourself up. There we go. Probably the most I want to do there. That's a really good solder. A little more than I'd like it to be, but Yeah, it is preferable if you have a precision soldering iron. This isn't the greatest soldering iron. I think I'm going to get me a better one that has a better tip for future projects. But as you can see, I'll bring it a little closer. You can see now that there are no breaks anywhere in that solder point right here. Right, all the way around. Got a little bit of flux on it, but for the most part looks good. No stress cracks. Looking on those look good. All right, we're back, and we're gonna put those motherboards back on the plate here. So we're gonna take this antenna wire, we're gonna stick it through the hole it came out of. We're gonna line up our holes here. And remember that on here, let's pull this back out, this connects to this. So we're just gonna make that connection real quick first before we do anything else. So that's how it's supposed to be. You gotta make a connection first before we put it back in, because otherwise we won't be able to get it in there. So feed that back down on here. Set those back in place. All right, so now it's set back down in there. Holes lined up. Connection between the two boards made. Now we can screw these back in. Try not to over tighten. I just go till they're firm. You don't want to crack the board. Probably shouldn't be using a drill. Better to use a screwdriver, but you got the 6 screws back in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now again, this is for a craftsman, but this is pretty standard for most garage door openers. So we're gonna stick this back on. So we're gonna hook this back up. As you can see, that connector lines up with that, and this bigger black one lines up with the one we just soldered, that board right there. All right, we got everything back together. Our 4 screws in. Everything's plugged in on the inside there. I've got my switch, red and white, connected to my switch over there. And then my 2 sensors, my 2 whites and my 2 grays for the sensors there and there. I also have this blue one, which is to another relay, which is to a control system. That's how I control my garage doors. So let's go ahead and give it a test. Now remember, every time I've tested this, the open has always worked. And it's probably because where it was fractured was on the closed side. So I usually like to try and test it 3 times. Because it is intermittent. I had one instance where it was working at least 1 or 2 times, but never 3 times. So we're going to try it 3 times, make sure it works. And if it works at least 3 times, I think we've got it fixed. So let's go ahead and open it, which it will always work to open, at least in my situation. You know, it's fully open. Now when I went to close it, it would either stop here or a couple inches from the floor. So let's go ahead and close it. Okay, that closed just fine. There's try number 1. Let's try it again. Let's open it. Okay, here's try number 2, closing. Perfect. Let's try number 2. Let's try it one more time. Okay, here's the 3rd try. If this works, I think we have fixed our problem. All right, try 3, like a charm. So again, I did this before, but I didn't do a video on it, but I wanted to do a video on it this time so you could see. But again, it is the board that has the transformer on it that they become cracked or loose, and I had to solder it before when I had the same issue, and I just had one other point that cracked that I had to solder again. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and follow, and thanks for watching.